Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. It's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
It's rain and tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's rain and tacos. It's rain and tacos. Out in the street, tacos. All you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's rain and tacos. Yum, 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 yum.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was busy dancing.
Get her done.
How are we doing today, my friend?
Excellent, sir. Excellent, sir. Watching live for some election results to come back in, but other than that, doing great.
It is going to be an interesting day. Not just well, as you can tell from our first story, it's going to be all about the power of Trump and the ability of Donald Trump's endorsement and what that means. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in today's show. So before we give too much away, let's go ahead and get started with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah. And Craig, while we're doing that, it looks like you might have had an earthquake there. I'll let you fix that while we're doing this. Hey, welcome back to Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. You need some AR barrels, they got them there. They got a rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire. They've also got regular rifle, shotgunning, pistol barrels, so get on over to hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assemblies fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed guns on the concealed holsters on the market, get on over to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get a nice little discount. And for the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, personal, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
And here at The Rundown, there at the Rundown Studios, as you can see that quick adjustment of the world. No, I didn't adjust the world. I had to adjust my camera. So
the world view.
I had to change my world view.
Do you
or
think
at least
that
the world's view into my studio? How about that?
There you go. I've always thought, like, remember, I grew up in a city, grew up in New York, right? Where people live in massive buildings and, multiple floors, apartments, elevators. Do you think that dogs think that elevators are world changers?
I would wonder. I imagine they're pretty sensitive, so I can imagine they can kind of feel that things are moving when they go up, or go down. So I would kind of wonder. I never see them look incredibly baffled when the doors open.
I mean, I think they get used to it, but it's like a Stargate to them. We enter in this little room and then we come out on the street. It's just it's weird. So
I wonder if they really give it that much thought.
They're dogs. They want to sniff at other dogs' butt.
They want to sniff at other dogs' butt. I'm sure not a lot goes into that thought process. In any case, folks, hey, wanted to remind you guys, by the way, these are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that you can so that we can bring you to them. So do us a favor, do them a favor, do yourselves a favor. Visit their websites. We make it real simple for you. All you have to do is follow the links in the description of this program. Also, if you're watching this during the 3 o'clock hour on the West Coast and the 6 o'clock hour on the East Coast, then you're watching us live, which means we're taking your comments. We would love to hear what you have to say. Whether you agree with us or you disagree with us, we would love to hear, but we actually prefer if you disagree with us because then it gives us the opportunity to mock you.
Oh, wow. Is that a mockingbird?
Is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
That's right. As Mike would say, we will mock you.
Mock you. Mock you, buddy.
I actually like disagreement, although I have to be honest. Some of these folks on the left, I have some friends from high school who've decided that they want to they take issue with some of my positions. Now, Mike, I was in like the AP classes and honors classes, and I'm not saying that I was the smartest kid in the class, but I knew the kids who were in the short yellow bus class, right? And I will say short yellow bus, but I knew the kids who were not in the honors classes. And many of them demonstrate why they were not in honors classes right there on social media. Their inability to come up with facts and logic, which probably explains why they're liberals, is just astounding.
Listen, I read certain comments, Craig, and all I can think is the snozberries taste like snozberries.
Snozberries. That's what it's like. It's like, yeah, it's like so without wanting to be demeaning to them, I just want to be like, you were dumb then and you're dumb now. Not much has changed.
Yeah, no. Yep. There's the 1-star people, right? I forget the comedian's name. He calls them 1-star people. The mouth breathers. We'll
Yes.
call it. It's just
No, I'm not saying that, because here's the thing. On the left, there are some very, I will say, intelligent people. I will not necessarily say they are wise or smart people, but they have the ability to apply logic to a wrong set of facts, or to just flat out lie. In some cases, they're wrong. In some cases, they're flat out lying. But at least with them, it's an entertaining debate, because at least they're coming at you with something relatively easy to debunk. But at least they're coming with something. When you have people saying, "Oh, well, Trump is doing it,"
well, yeah. If it's anything with Trump, it's got zero value when they say it. It just sorry.
Oh yeah. Anyway, and by the way, a lot of that's going to play out in this upcoming election. This we're going to be talking about now. We're going to be talking about the power of Trump's endorsement. Now, here's the thing. Historically, Trump's endorsement has had mixed reviews in general elections. But in primaries, Donald Trump's endorsement has generally been gold. Now, you might recall that there were a number of people who've stood up against Donald Trump. And when I say stood up against him, I don't mean disagreed with him on a policy or two. I mean, they decided that they were just going to go full bore after Trump. And this quick little monologue here from the guy over at Newsmax from Finnerty kind of demonstrates how bad an idea that is for people who are deciding that they want to continue in Republican Party politics.
I don't think any of them saw this coming, if I'm being honest. 7 Republicans voted to impeach Donald Trump in 2021, 3 weeks after he left office and a month after January 6th, and they tried to blame everything that happened on January 6th on Donald Trump, and this always bothered me. They tried to blame everything on Donald Trump because that was the easy way out at the time, because they never thought they'd ever have to deal with Donald Trump again. Blame it on Trump, move on, we'll be on the right side of history. Donald Trump was an aberration, he never should have been president. That's what they all thought. Blame it on Trump, impeach him, and then forget about him forever because he'll never be president again. That's what they all thought, all of them. 5 years later, well, how'd that work out? Mitt Romney retired in disgrace, the 2012 Republican nominee for president, reduced to a footnote now. Susan Collins, literally about to lose to a guy with a Nazi tattoo in Maine. Ben Sasse, retired. Pat Toomey, retired. Richard Burr, retired. Lisa Murkowski, not on the ballot again until 2028, but her day will come. And Bill Cassidy, the 2-term senator from Louisiana who voted to convict Donald Trump on impeachment charges. So noble, Bill. He just lost his primary on Saturday to Julia Letlow, the Donald Trump-endorsed candidate in Louisiana for the Senate. President Trump posting on Truth Social, quote, "It's nice to see that Bill Cassidy's political career is now over. He voted to impeach me on charges that were fake then and are now criminally insane." But Bill never thought this day was going to come. He never thought this would happen.
None of them ever thought it would happen. And so now we've got an opportunity. So now the Cassidy is out. There are 2 other folks right now, or at least there are a couple of other folks where Donald Trump is during this primary today. He's actually flexing his muscle. One is, well, not today, because I don't think the Texas primary is today, but Ken Paxton, who is running for in a runoff election for governor of Texas. He is the conservative candidate. And I'm sorry, not governor. I make a mistake again. He's not running for governor. He's running for Senate. and he's running against an incumbent, Mr. Conyer, who has been anything less than a friend of gun owners. So Trump has endorsed against a sitting senator. He's also endorsed against a sitting congressman, Mr. Thomas Massie, who for some reason has decided he's going to take up with the conspiracy theorists. He's come up against Trump on the Epstein files. He's voted against every major piece of legislation that Donald Trump has put up. Massie, who has decided that he is going to be on the opposite side of, and his claim is that, well, in many cases, he didn't believe that it went far enough. 95% of the candidates that Republican candidates that Donald Trump has endorsed have won in primaries. Now, he's got a little bit more mixed results in general elections, but I mean, 95%, you got to believe that if he's endorsed against you in a Republican primary, that things are going to be pretty bad for you.
Yeah, Craig, listen, these 7 individuals, let's be clear that these weren't policy issues they had with Donald Trump. They remained Republicans, and they had 90% agreement there on policies. This was TDS. These were people that suffered from Trump derangement syndrome that happened to be Republicans, went against President Trump, and now they're paying the price. That's what's going to happen.
Well, here's the thing, and this is one of the funny parts, is you keep hearing people talk about there's this break with MAGA, like MAGA doesn't like this or Republicans don't like that. But this piece here over from CNN will kind of show you that Donald Trump is actually more popular with MAGA than ever before.
And this is one of those, because just take a look here. MAGA GOP view of Trump. Approve 100%. 100%. If you are a member of MAGA and the GOP, you approve of Donald John Trump. 0% say that they disapprove. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know you can't go higher than 100%. He is the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Now, there are some Republicans who disapprove of Donald John Trump, but they are not members of the Make America Great Again movement. The bottom line is this: if you are a member of MAGA, you approve of Donald Trump.
It's interesting.
So for the folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, for all of you out there who think that you are MAGA, you're not. Let's be honest. Donald Trump invented it. Donald Trump came up with it. I don't know that there's a particular specific ideological thing with MAGA. And I'm going to be real with you. I do not claim to be MAGA. I just agree with MAGA on a bunch of stuff. I'm a conservative, right? I fall more in line with traditional conservatism because there's some of the more isolationist wings of MAGA that I don't align with. But having said that, I also know you don't get to try to claim a movement that someone else started and then try to claim it like you're the real MAGA. And in terms of people running right now, nobody does that more than Massie tries to.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, a lot of holdovers from the Tea Party. Remember that when the Tea Party came out, it was pre-MAGA, and Tea Party did good, made themselves known. That there was a wing of conservatism that wasn't happy with what Republicans were doing. Tea Party became MAGA. Donald Trump became the head of it. Became the aim of the party. The Tea Party is all but gone, and it's all MAGA now. And I think you've still got a couple of those holdouts that kind of like Tea Party stuff, but don't like Donald Trump, and that's the dissenters we see.
Right. And here's the thing, and I think there are definitely ways to disagree with Donald Trump on issues without necessarily like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And the problem is, the challenge is this, is that when you disagree with the president on something, you have to find a way, number one, to be respectfully be a respectful disagreement, and accept the fact that Donald Trump is probably not necessarily going to be polite to you in his disagreement, because that's just how he is. He's sometimes polite in his disagreements, sometimes he's not. But he's also demonstrated that he can disagree with you on one thing and call you names 1 minute and then be working with you the next. Just look at little Marco.
Yeah, little Marco, the greatest Secretary of State we've ever had, according to Donald Trump, and many others as well. But Craig, these are not just people that had name calling. These are not people who just had disagreements. These are people that voted to impeach the president of the United States. That kind of goes over. That's like, listen, I don't like you. I'm just going to burn your house down, but tomorrow will be cool. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I completely agree with you. And I think some of them got caught up in I think you could be angry and frustrated with what happened. I think you can be appalled at what happened, at how it went down, and still have it with some common sense in your head to realize, no, the president did not cause this. I don't know that he helped it, but he definitely did not cause that. Him basically saying, look, there were some shenanigans that went on in this election, by the way, which we know now. Now, we may disagree on exactly what those shenanigans are, but we know that they took place. We know that shenanigans took place.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? All good things come to those that wait. This second presidency now is much better than the presidency would have been if it had continued in 2020.
Oh, yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Like I said, he had 4 years to prepare. And part of that had to be getting rid of some of these folks. And
cleaning out the swamp.
Well, exactly. Here's the thing. Some of these folks treated Donald Trump worse than they treated some of these Marxist Democrats. And put it this way, when the New York Times, when the members of the Democratic leadership, when they start singing your praises, as they have been with Massey, as they did with Cassidy, as they did with Mitt Romney, something is wrong. Something is wrong when they start singing your praises because and only because you disagree with Donald Trump. Really?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. And like I said, I've always, I think you can attest to this. When I have felt that Donald Trump has been wrong, I've said that I thought he was wrong, and I came up with policy reasons why. And I've also admitted when I was wrong, when I thought he was wrong. I've owned it, and I think that's the best way to handle it is, if you're going to handle it that way, how are you going to handle it that way? And I just realized I spelled Illinois wrong. Wow, that's really bad.
The Fighting Illini.
There you go.
Yeah, Craig, listen, I've used one of the rules, and it comes from mathematics. It comes from actually things that George Patton even said. The 80% rule. If you could find somebody you agree with 80% of the time, I don't care if that's in business, personal relationship, in your politics, you need to make up on the other 20%, or don't worry about the other 20%. Because if you can find anybody you agree with 80% of the time,
right,
you're winning. And these people can't get over that 20%. They can't get over the 20% of, he's not presidential. Okay,
right,
great, he's not presidential. Yet let's take a look at everything else that he's done. But that's all. That's what you can't get over. That's small brained. That's what that is.
That is small brained, and that's you. I'm sorry, but you're a little too worried about what other people think.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about what other people think. Focus on right and wrong, right? And the fact that it in no uncertain terms, we've done better with him than without him. And you only need to look at how things were at the end of Obama's term and how things were at the end of Biden's term. Now, I get it. We're going through a little bit of a rough economic patch right now, and that is in part because of what we're dealing with the war in Iran. But the goal behind the war of Iran is no nukes in Iran. I'm sorry. I'm still down with that. I can't figure out why they can't figure out the Strait of Hormuz. But I'm no military expert, and I don't know what to do. So I just figured they would know what to do. You can be frustrated with that, and still recognize that the war has been a good thing.
Yeah, and listen, I'll give you the short take on Iran. Why it's taken a little bit longer than expected is that I want you to think back to the Japanese at the end of World War II. Right, they were. Absolutist 100%. We'll fight to the death. Every one of us will commit suicide, Harry Carey, do whatever we have to do. Well, the Iranians are much the same way with their faith there. It's going to break. It's going to break. It's going to fall. And when it falls, we're going to end up with a partner potentially 50, 60 years from now, as strong as Japan is with Iran, because those that remain and have gotten rid of that part of their ideological beliefs will be ever thankful that we saved them from the death knell of the Ayatollahs killing 30,000 people at a whack because they disagreed with something that was said.
Well,
It's just they're a little bit more hardcore. They weren't raised to sit at the surrender table. They were raised to die if they disagreed with us. They'll get over that.
People forget though. Yeah.
General Claire Chenot said, if you kill enough of them, they'll stop fighting.
And when people forget that actually Iranians are more Persian than they are Muslim. This is not that. It is not Afghanistan, right? This is not a
Correct.
place that has a steeped history in the Muslim Sharia law. That's literally something that's only been around for about 40 years. When the Shah of Iran was overthrown. So it's something relatively new, and a huge percentage of their population is not Muslim. And while they are living under the tyranny of the mullahs, they would love to not be. So there's a foundation for, I don't know if it's a foundation for a democratic government, but definitely a more secular, more government of the 21st century.
Yeah, Craig, first batch of numbers rolling in from primaries in Kentucky. Massey's down 10 points with 3% in.
Wow. Well, they're projecting. They were saying so. They're projecting he was going to lose somewhere in between. Kalshi is projecting anywhere between 8 to 10 points.
Yeah,
he's going to
lose.
Now,
listen, the 3% that are in, we understand those are the absentee ballots that are just posting. They've still got time to count everything else.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
Next story here. GOP moves to stop climate shakedowns. And this is an important one, folks, because this is where the left has been really pushing at increased costs. Lefts in blue states have been doing these things that are actually causing costs to rise for everybody because they're doing it in blue states. It says here, GOP moves to stop climate shakedowns, block Democrat-led states and cities from going after oil companies with lawsuits and legislation. Republican lawmakers are taking the most ambitious federal action yet to shield oil companies from a growing number of state lawsuits and bills that seek to force them to pay billion-dollar penalties related to their alleged role in contributing to climate change. In state courts, more than 24 Democrat-led states and cities, which are collectively home to roughly a quarter of the nation's population, have accused dozens of oil companies of misleading consumers about the impact burning fossil fuels has on the climate. The ongoing lawsuits argue oil companies are responsible for paying hundreds of millions of dollars in damages caused by extreme weather, which Democrats blame on man-made climate change in those states and cities. In state houses, Democrats are pushing laws that require oil companies to pay state coffers to fund environmental resilience and infrastructure repair projects. A dozen states have introduced such laws, and two, Vermont and New York, have passed them. Under New York's law, oil companies will be forced to pay the state $75 billion over the next 25 years. Senator Ted Cruz and Representative Harriet Hagman, both Republicans, authored the Stop Climate Shakedowns Act last month, which they say would prohibit such litigation and laws. According to the lawmakers, the increasingly common state actions, while pursued at the local level, ultimately seek to regulate nationwide emissions and force far-left climate agenda on all Americans. I think this is a phenomenal idea because, once again, this is an example of basically the tail trying to wag the dog, and in the end, all of us wind up paying for it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, how can we get more money out of our citizens? How do we tax them? I mean, whether we're calling it a tax or not, how do we get more money for our failing policies? And that's what this is. They're finding different ways to go in and get more money from you because they want to continue with their failing policies because, again, they hate Donald Trump.
Well, and folks, let's be clear. If you want to talk about how they are failing, California has been on this environmental kick, talking about CO2 for the last 20 plus years. And our air quality is worse now than it was when we started this madness. That's how worthless it's been. At the same time, we've killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of jobs in the state of California. We've cost consumers billions, if not trillions of dollars in additional regulation and additional price and tax increases in order to, quote unquote, fix man-made climate change. Now, I think it's safe to say that I believe in climate change because climates change. I question the role or the percentage that is impacted by us. Now, that doesn't mean that we ought to be just spewing all sorts of stuff in the air, but we ought to also not be ignoring, the economic facts on the ground when, you're going to kill hundreds of thousands of jobs in order to reduce CO2 emissions 0.0002%.
Yeah. And listen, there's, lots of different numbers, Craig. I mean, I periodically pull up pollution around the world and look where it's actually coming from. And there's nothing we can do to ever, change what China and Russia are doing, and that might mean it goes from 0.0002 to 0.0003, somewhere along those lines. But it's nowhere in the scope of what we're doing is going to cause catastrophic damage on the earth in the next 10 or 20 years, as the left would have you believe.
Well, especially when most of the pollution is coming from India and China, and India and China, and neither one of them are going to be changing their environmental policies anytime soon. Even under the climate accords that the left keeps wanting us to sign on to, even in those, the only people required to make changes to their emissions and how they do things and fund climate funds is the United States of America. Nobody else is required to do it, even though we're not even putting out anywhere near the amount of CO2 and pollution that China and India are doing.
Yeah. Again, agree. There's some pollution, and it's good to take care of pollution. But when you're talking 0.0002%, what are we doing? Why are we wasting our time on it? Let's be good. But it's not going. It's not the end of the world.
Is it really and truly going to make a difference is the question thing you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
And in most cases, for a lot of the things, it's not. In fact, some of the things that they've done, like in California, we have that cap and trade. All it's really done is basically give some of these liberal folks a way in which to basically create this fake right to pollute and then sell the right.
Yep.
That's literally all they're doing. Anyway,
they make a big deal out of it, nationally, locally. Look, Craig, I live in a county, and it's it sits right on the edge of a conservative liberal county, right in the middle. And we're so obsessed with trees and these certain kind of trees, and we got to have these trees. They're natural, and we can't touch them, and they got to stay preserves. And then a big developer comes in, hands them a bunch of cash. They plow it down, but they promise to plant new trees.
Oh, well, wait. What about you? Ever notice now how that a lot of the environment and CO2, a lot of the stuff is going away now that they're realizing that the left is realizing that they kind of need some of this electricity and some of this fuel for data farms.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
All of a sudden, climate change ain't such a big thing. Anyway, moving right along. Speaking of big things, speaking of rights, and I was wrong and I was right because I did not spell Illinois wrong. It just, for some reason, it just looked kind of funky to me. But the Illinois FOID card is actually being challenged. Now, what is a FOID card? A FOID card is basically where you what their law basically says is you have to basically carry papers around with you. You have to show your papers gun law is really what it is. And it's being challenged there. Anyway, let me read a little bit here from Fox News. It says the New Civil Liberties Alliance filed a lawsuit against the Illinois officials Tuesday over the state's Firearm Owners Identification Act, also known as the FOID Card Act, a state law that requires Illinois residents to apply for and carry an identification card at all times to possess any firearm or ammunition, meaning if you don't have the card, you can't own a gun. the civilian complaint, which Fox News Digital obtained exclusively, challenges the law as unconstitutional, arguing, quote, it entirely deprives everyone of the right to keep and bear arms, including the basic right to possess a firearm for self-defense in the home, unless and until they seek and receive the state's permission. Now, Mike, once again, this is kind of interesting because I don't see how this law stands up under Bruin at all.
It doesn't, and it won't, but we'll waste Illinois taxpayer dollars in the meantime trying to prove our point that we are Illinois and we're different and we're going to have to pay attention to what the Supreme Court says because we don't like it. It's just going to end up costing people in Illinois lots of money.
I think once again, I think when people do something that is obvious, they pass something that's obvious like this. First of all, I think every state legislature, every city council should have to, they're whatever they propose, there should be some sort of a thing in there. Does this pass does this violate state or federal law? Does it violate constitutional law? And those things should be determined. Get a check. And yes or no. And if it's determined that it does, and they decided to pass it anyway, they ought to be willing. They ought to lose their seat in government. Period. They violated their oath of office by trying to institute by basically going against the Constitution.
You know how I feel. Said it on here many times. They should not have absolute immunity. They should have qualified immunity, just like other public servants. And if they violate the Constitution or break the law, then they should be held accountable.
Yeah. Sadly, that will not be the case. Unfortunately, that will not be the case at all. Too bad. So sad. Anyway, this next story here. Now, for those of you, and I don't spend a lot of time watching Bill Maher. In fact, the primary times in which I watch Bill Maher is when I'm watching a video clip where he's going after the left. This is a guy who is not a conservative at all. But in his all due respect, he is a person who does make it a point to challenge the left, right? He challenges them on, in particular, some of the more whacked out things that they happen to believe. And he requires that they, you stand up for what you believe. And this was interesting because in a recent episode of his show, he's talking with a dude and he's explaining that, he's asked, he's explaining that his most frustrating thing is that he can't get Democrats to come on his show, political Democrats, like some of the heavy hitter, quote unquote heavy hitters, to come on and actually defend why they believe what they believe.
Everybody's a monster till you talk to them.
Who haven't you interviewed that you want to interview?
Right? Ironically, mostly Democrats, because they're they won't come on the show. Like the Clintons. Kamala, I voted for you. Really?
You haven't interviewed them yet?
I would love to. The Democrats are about going anywhere that they're not already pre-adored. Not all of them, but Kamala Harris. Like I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost.
You're just why she lost.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen him say this many times on there. He says this quite frequently. They won't come on his show.
Well, because they'll never go anywhere where they get challenged. It's kind of funny. I had someone make a comment about, I had posted something on Thomas Sowell, and they said, well, Thomas Sowell never debates. It's easy to just write books and give quotes and give speeches. I asked him, I said, who on the left actually debates? Who on the left will go on a conservative show? Gavin Newsom is the only politician on the left I know that goes on other shows. Let's see. Fetterman.
He doesn't go on there to debate either. He goes on there to pontificate. No. So
yes, he goes on there to pontificate. But I'm like, hardly anybody. Kamala Harris she didn't do one hard hit interview. She didn't do one conservative interview. She didn't do anything with Fox News or OAN. She didn't do anything with the Washington Times or with the Daily Wire. She didn't do any of those. But yet you have Donald Trump, who's done CNN, ABC News. He's done the New York Times. He's done the Atlantic.
Yeah.
I look at conservatives go everywhere, and here's the problem. The reason why the left won't is because they know that facts and logic are not on their side.
That's it. Exactly right. Unless they got some one-sided debate somewhere where they control the moderators, they're not going to do it.
Exactly. And even it's kind of funny because I will still say Gavin Newsom is when he goes on legitimate source, like when he sat down with Charlie Kirk ate his lunch. When he sat down with Ben Shapiro ate his lunch. The first time he did it was with Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity he's a homer. He is not used to actually having the other side there where he actually has to debate them and actually have a conversation. I just felt like he was a little too nice. To Gavin Newsom. But yeah, anytime he went on a real conservative, he got his lunch, he got his hat handed to him.
Yep. Yes, he did.
Anyway. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your hog holster today. All right, today's parting shot is going to be brought to you by our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. As we were talking about data centers earlier, 8 scary facts about data centers. Since we're going to be dealing with them, it says here, AI uses a lot of power and it needs massive data centers to support it. That's why, despite data centers having existed for decades, people are suddenly running for the hills. But do they have a reason to be afraid? You be the judge. Here are the scariest facts about data centers. Data centers are the ugliest buildings on Earth. Ancient Greeks never built utilitarian buildings. Okay. They're almost as bad as nuclear power plants and 100 times more deadly. They drink up one whole ocean per ChatGPT query. What are you asking ChatGPT, man, that's causing them to drink up an entire ocean? They use so much power that everyone nearby is forced to become Amish.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Dangerous levels of EMF and radiation can affect human health. This might be how we get our superhuman mutant superpowers.
Ooh.
Powering a single data center requires the opening of Helmuth. What? What's a Helmuth?
No clue.
Okay. Data centers are the last step before the vast farms filled with crops of human beings to feed them. I think they're talking like the Matrix.
Okay.
All right. There's one behind you right now. Run for it. Okay, that was not nearly as funny as I would have hoped it would have been, but then again, I was in a rush.
Helmuth is the artistic concept of Hell's Entrance, having to do with some vampire stuff.
Okay. Thank you for that fun fact.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Get over there, get some AR barrels, rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire, regular shotgun barrels, regular rifle barrels, regular pistol barrels, anything you want. They've got hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in tactical gear, field gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get on over, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com, or you can get everything except the gun. And Craig, our out the door update on Kentucky primary, Thomas Massey at 45%, Ed Gallerin at 55% with 4% of the vote in.
Yeah, if they get to 10% and those numbers don't change, then that's pretty much what you're going to be looking at.
Yep, absolutely.
Thomas Massey going to go bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It going to be what it going to be. All right, folks, well, that's it for today's program. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all have fun. Stay safe. See you mañana.